Sr., and I'm speaking for the Birmingham Progressive Christian Alliance, and also for the Moral Movement, Alabama. And I'm also speaking for God today, because this is a moral issue and a deeply constitutional issue. And I would like to begin my comments with the statement of our purpose with Moral Movement Alabama. Moral Movement Alabama is an indigenously led, locally organized, state-based, legislature-focused, deeply moral, deeply constitutional, anti-racist, anti-poverty, pro-justice, pro-labor, and transformative fusion movement. And our theme is forward together, not one step back. Let's say that song, folks. Forward together, not one step back. And since it's a moral movement, I want to read some scripture from some of the great moral teachers of the human tradition that guide us and have guided our moral commitments for many years. Isaiah 56:7b reads, "For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all people." And then I would like to read Jesus' statement, who is one of the great moral teachers of the human community, where he quotes this prophet Isaiah and says, "My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers." So I'd like to say, first of all, that it's 1901 again. It's 1901 again, and Donald Trump is raising the ghost of white supremacy in America.
Yes.
And I read the prophet Isaiah, and he reported God saying that my house shall be a house of prayer for all people. So that means all ethnicities, all languages, all colors, all gender identities, all religions. And the all even includes people of faith who don't want to pray, are included in our house and are welcome in such an awesome house that God described. And Jesus complained that in his day, people had gained control of God's house that no longer lived under God's standard of for all, but had become robbers of justice and hospitality, and were excluding most people from access to justice and compassion. Now, we're talking about our deep moral values with these themes, but we want to talk about our deep constitutional values also. The United States of America is one nation under a just and compassionate God. We are a multicultural democracy with liberty and justice for all. Our government is to be a government for all people, by all the people, and for all the people. You noticed I said all the people, right? God says all of the people. The Constitution says all of the people.
Yes.
And we hold that it's self-evident that all people are created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain unchangeable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So let's be clear. We're here today to say that the United States of America is not a country for rich, white, heterosexual men only.
Right.
White supremacy is evil.
Yes. Right.
White supremacy is theological and political malpractice.
Yes. That's right.
White supremacy is a destructive idolatry, a robber of life, and has been the source of slavery, death, abuse, suffering, and oppression in our country and in the world.
Yes.
White supremacy must be eliminated.
Right now. Right.
White supremacy is religious and political malpractice. White supremacists that are robbers and stealers of justice in America have been in that condition for 400 years in America. And it's time it came to an end.
Yes.
Jeffrey Beauregard Sessions is a white supremacist. All of his political record demonstrates that he is a robber of justice, a robber of civil and human rights for African heritage people, Latino people, LGBTQ people, and poor people in
We're
America.
here today to oppose, to counter, to come back, to dispute, and deny, and protest this nomination. And I want to read something from the Attorney General website so you can get a frame of what the Attorney General is responsible for. And it states that the Judiciary Act of 1789, which created the Attorney General, has evolved over years into the Department of Justice. And since the 1870 Act that established the Department of Justice, the Executive Department of Government of the United States, the Attorney General has guided the world's largest law office. Now hear me, he's saying the world's largest law office. And do we want someone like Jeff Sessions to guide the world's largest law office? No, we do not want that. Well, why don't? Well, you know, in 1986, it's already been stated he was nominated to be a federal judge. And the people who sat on that judiciary committee back then, you know, they were smart men, and they read through the rhetoric that he was proposing. And when you, I don't care if it's 1986, when you refer to African Americans as boy, and they work for you, that's horrible. That's just plain old horrible. Well, and you heard some people say, well, since the session, that was back in 1986, that he has changed. Well, I would ask you all, where has the change been? We have here with us Reverend Lofty Hicks. Lofty Hicks has admitted that he is a recovering racist.
Yes.
But the difference between he and Senator Sessions is Reverend Hicks is out here championing the cause, championing civil rights. We do not see Senator Sessions out here championing anything related to civil and human rights. So that's the difference between a person who is reformed or a person who is changed. They change and they come out and support these efforts.
Yes. Thank you.
Another thing is, according to the NAACP legislative report card, since Senator Sessions has been in office, he has voted along and supported the NAACP, which is a civil rights advocacy organization, only 10% of the time average. And during the last session, in 2015, he only supported our position 7% of the time. 7% of the time. He has voted against things like LIHEAP, funding for people who are need help with their heating. He voted against that. He has voted against the Minimum Wage Act. He has voted against paid sick leave. He voted against the ex-felon enfranchisement Act. And he voted against anti-LGBT discrimination in schools, and many more things that he has voted for. This is just 2015. So those who are saying that he has changed, where is the change? What do we see that is going to lead anyone to believe that this man would be a champion for civil and human rights and law enforcement in this country, leading the world's largest court? He has referred to the NAACP and ACLU as un-American, organizations that fight every day hard for human and civil rights, who put their lives on the line for human and civil rights every day, and he called them un-American. So the moral movement in Alabama is asking everyone to write their senators, write the people on the Judiciary Committee, and let them know that we in Alabama, who said that? I think it was John said that we know him in Alabama. We want everybody to know. We want the world. We want this nation to know that we oppose Senator Jeff Beauregard Sessions to be the United States Attorney General because he will not be good for America.
About there's people that are coming together though to stand up for that, to stand up against that, to say that there is another way. Jeff Sessions does not stand for that vision.
No, it doesn't.
Jeff Sessions is going to take us into another direction.
Yes, he will.
Jeff Sessions, and we know Alabama, we know Jeff Sessions. And we're here not only to say to Alabama, but to the nation, Jeff Sessions is not what we need for the Attorney General.
Yes.
What is the Attorney General's office? They enforce the laws. They set the policies for the federal government. They bring the lawsuits. They defend against lawsuits. Jeff Sessions will not take us in the right direction. I could give you an example on how it plays out, but Jeff Sessions would also, as Attorney General, set policy. He would set the direction for the agency. Let's just take our prisons in Alabama. What's happening in the prisons? There's a federal lawsuit right now based on constitutional grounds that says that the prison system in this state is not just, it's not good. We have one of the most overcrowded prison populations in the United States. Jeff Sessions, there's a lawsuit right now, would be the one that would set the direction not only for Alabama, but for the country in terms of what's happening in prison. Jeff Sessions is not likely to take that in the right direction. Jeff Sessions is also the one that would be over the agency that has to enforce things. You take the events of Ferguson and around the country where people protested about unjust treatment of African Americans in communities of color, in big cities, in small towns, and they couldn't get action at the local level. What they did was to go to the federal level. The federal government came in and they took action under President Obama's administration. Jeff Sessions would be the one that would have to enforce that. In Alabama, we have a Michael Moore that was killed in Birmingham by a police officer not long ago. That police officer was let go on that. There's a lot of questions in Mobile and other things, in other instances in Alabama and around the country. Is Jeff Sessions the one that's likely going to lead us in a good direction?
No, he will not.
So what we say is we've got to come together. We've got to oppose this in every way that we can before the Senate Judiciary Committee. But we not only have to do it there, we have to do it in all different venues in Alabama, before the state legislature, out on the streets. We have to do what it takes to make sure that the third Reconstruction happens. The second Reconstruction, the Civil Rights Movement, did not get us to justice in the civil rights community. What we have to make sure is that there's a third civil rights movement, there's a third Reconstruction, and that this state go in the right direction, and this country go in the right direction, and Jeff Sessions is not the answer.
That's right.
All right, Joe.
Good morning. My name is Terry Michael. I'm with Support Our Students. And I'm happy to speak here today. I don't think I could say much more than Reverend Higgs or Joe Keffer has said about our concerns, except for I do want to add that Jeff Sessions is bad for public education.
Yes.
He is bad for public education. He has made derogatory comments about our students with special needs. He has very antiquated thoughts on segregation, desegregation. He has not necessarily always been on the right side of things. So for our public schools and for the sake of our marginalized communities, we feel strongly that Jeff Sessions is the wrong appointment. I also want to add this. We can create change. A group of people can create change. Our Latino students had a big win yesterday here in Birmingham City Schools. We came together, a group of us, and we spoke, and we protested, and we demanded that our Latino children had the same quality education as the other students here, and we won. We created that change by coming together. So I urge everyone to, yes, speak out against the Trump's appointments, send a signal to Trump and to the people that he is appointing, but more importantly, organize. Come together with like-minded people. Make sure that your voice is heard. When you see a small group, you got to understand you need to join that group because then it will grow. Moral Movement started in Raleigh, North Carolina. On their first meeting, they had 16 people. Now they've grown to 9,000 and 10,000 people at their events. They are creating change in North Carolina. I believe in Alabama. I believe in the moral movement here in Alabama. You've got to come out. People have got to do more than make a phone call or sit at home and complain. They need to join us. They need to join other people, like-minded people, and we need to take our voice not only to local government, to state government, and to federal government, because we can create change. People do still have power because we still have a vote. We still have a vote. So we're going to have some defeats. We are definitely, under a Trump presidency, going to have some defeats. But we will have some victories if we stand together and if we raise our voice. So I hope you will join our moral